Good evening, this is Chrissy Green here with another video tutorial for the Photography for Beginners editing group. Ray Ray posted tonight about doing sky swaps, um, and she mentioned that they're very tedious and time consuming when you have to do a lot for a single session. Her original question was, is there any way to make that process faster? Unfortunately, you have to tackle every image individually because you can't just make one mask and apply it to batch images. You can't create an action to do it for you, at least not that I'm aware of. Um, so you do have to do everything individually with this one. That being said, creating a mask, isolating your subject, it really shouldn't be more than a 5 to 10 minute job, depending on what you have to work with. So I told her I would make a video to do that. We're already a minute in, so let's get going and we'll see how long this actually takes. First thing you have to do is find your sky. I got one off of morguefile.com. It was originally in focus. I intentionally blurred it and positioned it so that it would match the background here. Now to select this, I'm just going to start off by brushing on. I'm going to brush on a mask using a nice soft brush and clicking this little layer, this quick mask icon down there. Now I'm using a soft brush so that I can match up the softness of that background there. And I'm intentionally staying within the image. So yes, some of it is going to be cut off, but it's better to kind of cut off a bit of that balcony than to leave in a bit of the water behind it. And so I'm just staying just within that line, making sure that my blurred edge isn't going to spill over onto the water. Because it's so out of focus, it's going to be the easiest part to select, and it's going to be very forgiving. And because it's a mask and I'm not erasing or deleting anything at all, I don't even have to panic or worry about what I'm getting because everything is fixable after the fact. See, I'm just going to be really sloppy at that part. And over here where the bear is a little bit more defined, I can just go in and increase the hardness. And I'll select him with a much firmer brush. And he's got jaggedy edges, so I'm just going to jaggedy edge this up a little bit. I don't want my edge to be too smooth around there. He is a stuffed animal, so we just want to kind of have like a rough little line there. And as you can see, there are bits that aren't being selected, but again, it's better to kind of cut in on your subject when you can. There we go. And I'll just fill the rest of this in. Boop, boop, boop. And then for the hair, I'm just going to tackle that in a separate step because that's the quickest way for me to do it. And so I've only been doing this for about a minute and a few seconds. And it goes even quicker if I use a larger brush. Ah. Sorry about that. Somebody spilled something on my keyboard, so my buttons are being a little sticky. So once I've done this, I'm going to click this button again, and it will turn it into a selection. Now if I go back up here to my sky and click on that layer, I can create a mask just by clicking that button. You can see the edges here are almost perfect around the balcony, and I can tweak those by just going in with a lower opacity on my brush and just touching those edges a little bit. And the lower opacity is just going to make it really hard to notice that I've done anything. Soften the edge up as much as you can. And that's going to get rid of that little glow that I've got happening there. And I can do the same thing down here. because I've got a lowered opacity, I just give a few extra clicks. As you can see, it blends it in really well. Just go in those little areas where the background was showing through. So there we go. So we're about 4 minutes in and everything is selected except for the girl's hair. And like I said, it's easier to do that on a separate action because this selection was soft and pretty easy. This one's got to be a little more precise. So I'm going to click back on the girl's layer. I'm going to go up to Select, Color Range. Now I have it just on black matte just so that I can really easily see what's being selected and what's not. And if I zoom in, I can see her hairs there aren't being selected because they're black when everything else is. And you can add to that selection or take away from it, but I think that's probably pretty good actually. So I'm going to say OK. Now I don't want to do anything here. I want to go back up to the mask layer. And I'll take my brush and I'm going to paint white. Opacity back up to 100. Anywhere that's selected there. Whoops. I took away a bit of the bear. That's just a matter of clicking X on your keyboard to toggle between the black and the white. And it'll allow you to paint in and take away at will there. And I'll do the same thing on this side here. Now I could have just hit delete had I made sure that I was only selecting things that I wanted. Because I have parts of her dress, the wall and things, I can't just hit delete because it'll get rid of those as well. So that's why I'm taking the extra time to just go in with the brush. Just bring back that wall there. And just zooming in. And anywhere where I see the lightness coming through. Because I'm using a soft brush, I'm not going to get too hard of an edge. There we go. Control D will deselect. And that's about it. Now anywhere where you have a hair that just sort of ends in the middle of nowhere, because the select tool is not flawless, I'll just clean that up there. Over here. And that's really all there is to it. It's always better to take away a little more. And the trick to it is just matching the hardness of your brush to your subject. So where you have a hard line, I didn't really fit the bill there. Where you have a hard line on your image, you want to make sure your brush is as hard. And don't be afraid to cut into your subject a little bit to get the most pleasing line. I'll just get rid of this stray hair there. Because like I said, people aren't going to notice if a couple of pixels are missing. What they notice on these is pixels that are left behind that shouldn't be. And that's about it. There really isn't much more to it. So this took me about 8 minutes, and I think that's pretty good. It's really hard for me to edit and talk at the same time. So I think if this was something that I was just working on kind of quietly by myself, then I probably could have shaved a minute or two off of that. But yeah, I think about 7 or 8 minutes for that's not too bad. And that's really all there is to it. There is no way to really speed it up. So anyway, that's how I would manage a sky swap. Sky swap. Thank you so much for paying attention to me once again. Sorry for my tongue tied.